Now, this guy and I go way, way back. I think the first, one of the first points for me that really stood with me of our interactions was many, many years back as he was transitioning from one particular role. He sent me a message. He's like, yo, my bro, you need to apply for this because I recommended you for that. And I was like, okay, this is different. But all that said, it's been an interesting journey for this man, and that is why we're here. Today we're going to have a whole learning session with the one and only. Has he been on the top 40 under 40? Not yet. Business Daily, holla at me. What are you guys doing? Not yet. But man, you see him. He's a culture curator. He's an entrepreneur. He's a go-getter. He's a sneakerhead. He's a music guy. He's Mr. Shades all day. I've always wanted to ask him, well, how do you wear shades all day? But he goes by the name Anthony Owinch. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Calvin. Calvin, that's quite the introduction, man. I love it. I love it.
You love that.
I love it.
Yo, we got to represent. We got to make sure we didn't leave out anything. Oh, sorry, I forgot. He's also a gym rat. Fam, how you going to come through for an interview and before the interview actually at the gym? That's dedication right there.
100%. It's a routine, man. You got to keep it going, man.
You got to
keep it going.
Yo, I'm struggling with that morning gym session. I don't know what's going on, but yo, we're going to get into all of that.
We'll get to it.
Now, man, I don't even know where to start, man, because as I said, I really want this to be a fruitful interview because I know there's a lot of people who look up to you and all of that. Now, I want to start with as a kid growing up, right? And this is conversations that I have with a lot of people. There's the dreams, and of course, you know, when you go through schooling over here, you're being asked by teachers, are you going to be a pilot? Are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be this or that or what or what?
Yeah.
Now, let me answer it for you to answer it. For me, when everything was said about being a doctor, engineer, all of that, never imagined it. It was quite different, right? It wasn't it for me. For you, what is it that you dreamt about being?
I mean, I share the same sentiments, man. Like, I remember when I was growing up, I was being asked, what do you want to become when you grow up? None of the traditional, occupations came up. No doctor, no lawyer, no teacher, nothing. So for me, it was always like, I want to do what my dad did. So my dad was a diplomat then.
Oh.
So I was just like, okay, he'd go for high-end meetings, travel all over the place. And that was beautiful. That's what I wanted to be, you know? He represented a country, represented Kenya.
Yes.
So for me, I wanted to represent something else. And even when we're going to jump forward a little bit, with one of my first roles, where I was a brand ambassador for a certain brand,
yes,
I was like, I mean, this is it for me, you know? I'm not a brand ambassador or I'm not an ambassador for a country, but I represent something. I represent a brand, and that was beautiful.
That was amazing. You actually did a very good job at that, right? So here you are, dreaming and all of that. You as you grow up, you know, you're trying to see, okay, this is life. It's coming at me in this kind of way and everything. And I want to start at uni. What made you pick the discipline that you picked? You got to actually tell them.
Oh man, I won't lie to you. My first choice was journalism. And second was going to be something in line with marketing. But you know, traditional folks. My dad was very traditional and everything like that. So he was like, listen, if I'm the one paying for your fees, my man, you got to do something finance, economics. So I settled on economics and statistics. That was a lot, man.
Yo, that sounds exhausting.
Lot. I wouldn't lie to you. Like the amount of numbers, bro. So economics, right? So
where'd you go do that?
University of Nairobi. So just here, yeah.
Comrade Power, man. Who was your president then?
I think it was Babu.
Shout out to Babu, the most educated man that I know.
100%, man.
Yo, so economic statistics.
Yeah.
Definitely not what you wanted to do.
Definitely.
But how long did that take you to settle into that?
So it took me a while. So I was always good at numbers and everything like that. But economics and stats, bro, it's a different kind of numbers, bro. It's things that you know how people talk about how did I get to use things I learned in uni now? So you can imagine, like, bro, in my course, you look at stuff, you're like, okay, there's things I'm using today, but a bulk of them is just like, bro, this ain't it, you know? But it took me a while to settle in. But there was a lot of collaborations, there was a lot of learning from other people, because I was strong at certain aspects, but there's certain aspects I'd built off certain people. So that was beautiful. Yeah.
But here's the thing, you've romanticized it and all of that. Tell me about those points where, okay, actually, before I even get into that, let's get a bit ratchet. How were you the kind of guy from Nairobi Uni who used to go to KBC quite a bit?
No. So I was always against that, because here's the thing. So everyone that used to go to was it KBC?
Yeah.
Everyone that used to there was one thing.
Yeah.
Guys used to drink warm beer. I never used to fuck with that.
Yeah.
Warm beer was not my thing.
No, you can't cuss on the radio.
Oh man.
Apologies for anyone who might have been offended by that.
Apologies.
Yeah, but so warm beer was the issue.
Warm beer was the issue. It was just never my thing.
But you've really done, like, here's the thing, bro. KBC was for the culture. Now, if you're locking in and you're wondering, KBC, yes, KBC used to have a place, KBC essentially, because it's a government, what do you call it, entity, it has a GSU camp in it. So at the GSU camp, right next to KBC is where everybody from Nairobi Uni and all different colleges in town used to go back in the day, because you needed to have a drink. I agree. The warm beers and all of that, a bit of a tricky situation. So where did you used to go? Because I'm trying to paint this whole understanding and understand how you got into who you are right now. Yeah. So what were your like places to go to in uni at that point?
So I had a lot of friends that were already into the culture. So there was young guys that we came up with. So guys like DJ Incredible, who were DJs at that particular point. So they kind of opened the scene for me.
Yes.
So they'd play at Skylarks, they'd play at Sherlock's Den, they'd play at Secrets. There's a bar called Secrets in CBD.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that's how I started getting into the scene, started going there to like listen to music. Disposable income wasn't as much then. So it was just very limited, but I used to have a very good time. So that's what I used to love then.
Sherlock's Den, when you mention it on Thursday, it being a Thursday, used to have 3 beers at 300 bob.
Yeah, and that was crazy.
Whew.
That was crazy.
Hey, memories. Listen. All right, so we've been talking, so we've spoken about uni and all of that, and now starting into getting into this whole culture kind of conversation and everything, right? But as we get into that, into all of that, right, I want you to tell me, why did you reference the song Kanye West on God?
So I feel like, Kanye West, to start off with, is an amazing creative, right? Despite a lot of other things he's going through, but he's an amazing creative.
For sure.
And that particular song just goes back to, you can have all the skills, you can have all the God-given talent, but ultimately, the person that has anything to do with your life, from you moving from point A to point B, is God. So that song talks about, like, listen, I've done this, I make this, but ultimately it's all up to God. I give all that glory to God. That's why I like that song.
Interesting. When's the last time you went to church?
2 weeks ago.
Okay. You're doing better than I am.
2 weeks ago, man.
Yeah, man, 2 weeks ago. Now, so I want to move away from uni and all of that, right? So, but before we actually move out of uni, I saw an article some time back.
Right.
What were those? You just said that there was not too much income at that particular point.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through that.
Yeah.
You've got to look for something to kind of, help you get around.
Yeah.
What was it that you were doing to, to make that money to afford the drinks at, what is that joint called in Tao?
Sherlock, Secrets.
No, you can't forget about...
No. Lifestyle Lounge?
No, where everybody used to go. What? It's missing.
Florida?
Nah. Pale, next to the highway, next to Habesha. What is it called?
Secrets.
I'll remember it.
Secrets Lounge, I think so, yeah.
Keep moving.
Yeah.
We were talking about it. I was being dared to go the other day by my colleagues over here at the office. I'll remember Mwenda's. That's what I'm talking about.
Mwenda's.
We can't forget about Mwenda's.
Mwenda's was
like
shots?
Mwenda's had something called a flaming Lamborghini.
Oh, man.
Flaming Lamborghini at that point was what a bottle is nowadays.
Yeah.
A chick says, it's my birthday. I want 3 flaming Lamborghinis. You're like, wow. In Norma.
No.
So I mean that for us guys was an aspiration, a point to get and all of that. But how is it? How were you grinding at that point?
So in uni, my grind started way earlier in high school.
Okay.
So I went to Aquinas High School, right? So a lot of people look at me, they're like, you went to Saints, I don't know what. No. Aquinas High School, Eastlands, heavy and everything like that. But when I was in high school, I used to sell ball gums. So I used to go get ball gums at like 35 bob. And then there used to be like 100 ball gums inside.
At 35 bob?
35 bob for the pack. Distributor price, right? And I'd flip them over for 100 bob. So I'd have like my 65 shillings. On a good day, I'd flip over 2 packs. So that's when it started.
Fam. Listen. I got to stop you right there. You know, here's the thing. I saw something on Twitter yesterday where when guys make it, they always have this whole story.
No, but it's true,
this
man.
Is where
it's true.
It started.
This is my cuckoo story. This is my chicken story. You know, this is it, man. This is it. But I'm serious. And Raphael's my partner. Raphael can attest to this.
Yes.
He used to see me in class, man, grinding,
the same thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. So you start with that, the ball gum, transition into uni. What are you doing then?
So I level up in uni. So uni, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of guys in different backgrounds and everything like that. But I still wanted to be fashionable and everything. So my grind was to remain fresh. So what do? I started going to, nowadays they call them vintage clothing and everything like that. But I started going to Gikomba, right?
No, hold up. Apparently, it's not called Gikomba nowadays.
What's it called?
It's called Wadi.
Yeah, Wadi. That's it.
Am I lying? Yo, they told me that the other day. I was like, bro.
Yeah.
It's called Wadi.
So I started going to Wadi. And so I used to specialize in one thing, jackets. Leather jackets. So I'd get leather jackets for G or something like that. Come back to uni, guys would see me wear it. They're like, where'd you get that leather jacket? 3 racks, 3-5. So that's what I used to do, right? Then it got to a point where it wasn't sustainable anymore, and I finished uni. And my first ever job, I used to be paid 10,000 shillings. Guess who was my boss?
Who was your boss?
Big Kev, the late. Dead ass. True black. Yo, shout out to Big Kev, man. May he rest in peace. 100%.
So that's your first job. What are you doing over there?
So I used to work as a licensing officer. So they used to have this new product, and then all entertainment joints used to needed a license. So that's what I used to do. But on the side, he gave us an opportunity. He's like, okay, this is what you guys are doing during the day. At night, I have activations and I need a team to like coordinate and stuff like that, supervise. So at night I'd still do that, and you get like an extra 2 Gs a night or something like that. Okay. So he opened the doors for me and a lot of other people. Yeah.
Yo, man, that's so at this point, there's a lot of money coming in at that point. Yo, 2 grand, bro.
2 Gs then was okay. You know,
2 grand then was okay.
That was okay, yeah.
2 grand right now, it's different.
Yeah.
So at this point you're doing all of that.
Yeah.
So where do you now get into this whole finance thing? Because you know the first time we met, it was through someone that you worked with, right?
Yeah.
And they said, yo, Owich and I used to work here, and I was like, what? This guy was in finance. That was very interesting for me.
Yeah.
What is the company called, by the way?
Chase Bank.
Yes. Chase was a very interesting bank. I've got to say, Chase gave me 5,000 shillings to open an account.
Oh, that's dope.
They were like 5 grand.
Yeah.
It was, I think, when Chase Bank, the story of Chase Bank is spoken about, right?
Yeah.
They had a very youthful approach to the market.
100%.
So I can see how you landed in that.
100%.
So interview and everything, boom, check in over there. How was that?
So Chase Bank was quite eye-opening. So by then, my pay grade flipped. So I was earning 35,000. So 35,000 a month. And here's the catch. So Chase Bank had this thing where you had to be in a suit every time. And the suit had to come from the same cloth. A suit, at least I used to wear dope ass suits. My suit by then would cost like 12 racks. So remove that from 35 Gs. So I have like, I don't know how much left. But I'd still like walk into that office, and even the execs would be like, who's that young guy? You know? And it's a thing about image. But Chase Bank taught me a lot of things about coordinating with different people, working with different people, handling issues that seem so colossal. But you go to your boss, you're like, this is such a big problem, you're tripping. They're like, you can handle it this and that way, right? So Chase Bank, I used to work in customer service. And that's why, like, for me, even with my businesses now, customer service is literally at the heart of it.
Yes.
And then towards the later years at Chase Bank, I moved over to Treasury.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that also became one of the uncomfortable positions in my life, because being an entrepreneur starts from being uncomfortable. So I used to work in Treasury. Someone would ring me, what's the rate today? I want to change
this and that.
X amount dollars. I'm like, where are you getting that kind of money, first of all? You know? So it just started provoking me. I'm just like, okay, I'm being paid X amount, but there's this guy that's going to call me and wants to trade this amount.
Yes.
And there's something I'm not doing right. So that's when I started becoming uncomfortable.
Yeah. So you're at Treasury, at Chase Bank and all of that, and then you decide, boom, let me make a move to the alcohol market.
Yeah.
This is going to be very dope. And I got to say, your massive shout out to the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Arts and Sports, Nakuru County as well, and of course, Ace Entertainment. Make sure you come through and support them this weekend. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Now, I got my guy Owich with me as we continue with this conversation right here on Fast with the Hits Trace FM. We're just talking to my guy. He is just an entrepreneur. All right, so we're transitioning out of Chase Bank. Now you're at a big company. Shout out to PRK, friends of us as well.
100%.
So how do you get into PRK first and foremost? You're coming from handling money, all of these different kind of things, hard currency to liquid currency, perhaps,
Man.
in a way.
The transition was it felt very natural at the time, but I didn't even think about it, because when guys were like, oh, you should apply for this Jameson brand ambassador job.
Okay.
I was just like, first of all, okay, I go out, but I didn't look at myself like being that guy.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
So there's this lady I used to work with called Kristen. She's like, oh, you're very social in the bank and everything like that. You should apply for this job. And she sat me down. We're like, we're going to do the application. I do the application and I get called for the interview.
So you said you were very social in the bank.
Yeah.
So you're that guy every guy hates.
Every department I was there.
No. You're the office boyfriend.
We can call it that.
Yo, be out there. Oh my God. I know a couple of guys like that at the office. Yo, we're not naming no names. But that was interesting. So she pushed you towards that.
Yeah.
And at that particular point, and I think we probably need to put this out there. A lot of people look at a brand ambassador role as, you're just in the club partying nonstop, what, right? But what exactly does a brand ambassador do?
Oh, it's a lot. So I was even like, you got to change the title, because this is not it, right?
Yes.
So initially when I applied, I just knew I was going to just be pictures, going out and everything like that. But there's a lot that goes into it, right? So first of all, I was in Dublin for like 2 months, 3 months, training, right? At different times.
Yes.
And this is training about what the brand is, what Jameson is, and how to market it, etc., right? So that was a long time. So even when I was there, I had to unlearn a lot of things that I know. I had to learn a lot of new things.
Yes.
And this is a different culture, different country. It was cold as hell. And then when I come back, I settle into the job. So people are like, oh, you just have to go out and drink. I'm like, bro, I got reports at the end of the month, right?
Yes.
I have to interact with bartenders. I have to interact with clients. I have to interact with agencies. We had to come up with a lot of the most amazing platforms. Jameson Connects. I know we worked on that together, right?
Yes.
So it's just things like that where people don't see that, but it takes a lot, And with that, there were qualifications. You needed a degree, There was a certain level of education that comes with that role. So it's not just being cool. It's not just being sociable. Those are important attributes, but there's a lot more that comes behind that.
So how long do you take that particular company? How long were you there for?
I was there for 2.5. 2.5 years, correct.
2.5 years. Sounds like a very cool job, right? But I want to ask you a question. There's a lot of people who probably miss this point. At what point do you know you've hit the black ceiling at a particular company?
I think at a point where, like, it comes back to being uncomfortable again. Could be uncomfortable with your pay, could be uncomfortable with systems, could be uncomfortable with your reporting structure, could be uncomfortable with your ideas not being heard, etc. So it just got to a point I was uncomfortable, right? And when I started becoming uncomfortable, Carlsberg came knocking. So this is another company, still in the liquor business and everything like that. They came knocking. They're like, there's this new product we're going to launch, a beer for the mass market, if I could call it. And they were like, we'd like you to be part of the marketing team.
Yes.
So that's when I jumped ship. Yeah.
So you were like, okay, cool. There's this particular thing, I've gotten to this point and all of that. But there's very few people who can take that move, right? My mother, if I told my mom, yo, I'm coming out of a very comfortable place that, keeps a roof over my head and all of that, and I'm going to something that's not been established, right? So are you going to tell me, are you one of those guys who's just like, yo, let's just do it. Let's just, roll with the punches. Were you afraid? Because, we got to be human. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people are at this point. I know a lot of people listening, they're just like, man, I've gotten to this point of my job where I'm just like, I got to be gone.
100%.
I need a new challenge.
100%.
So, were you afraid?
No, 100%. I was definitely afraid. I remember, and it's interesting that you say when you tell that to your folks and everything. I remember when I told my dad I'm moving jobs, he's like, why? Because this is a guy that worked in the government for 30 years. So he doesn't understand how after 2.5 years, quote unquote, you want to move, right? And when I moved, it's from coming from a company that's well established. There's a lot of benefits.
Yes.
Health, company car, etc, right? To a new company that's just starting up. It was literally a startup, right?
Yeah.
So you look at the structure of a startup. So we're like in a co-sharing, like office space and everything like that.
Yes.
There was a lot of uncertainties. There's no car. How I used to get paid then, it wasn't like it's structured. They were still figuring out the nitty-gritties of setting up a new business. So there was a lot of challenges that came. But for me, it was the excitement of a startup, and I wanted to learn how startups are set and everything like that. And it was a very lean team. It was 5 people at start, and we're looking at a market. You're going against one of the most established brands in the country. So that was a good challenge. And it was like such a beautiful period of time when I was there. I learned a lot.
You learned a lot. We're going to come and get some of those learnings from you because, today we're learning from my guy over here. But you know what? This is a beautiful song to transition in. This is literally you.